done pretending that it's okay not having close friends. I accepted that I needed to change how I was approaching building relationships because it has been completely wrong. Welcome back to another episode of Life with Marisol. Let's get into what it feels like to lack quality friendships and how we can make changes to actually forming a community around you. I am starting a small series of what it's like to be sexy, what it means to me, and how to become that woman, how to become her. This week, we'll be talking about forming real friendships. We'll be discussing how crucial it is to have them, why they're hard to form, and how to overcome the initial hesitation. Throughout this series, it will all connect to make you become more confident within yourself and feel more beautiful. If you haven't noticed yet, my goal this year has been to join city events and get more involved. I feel as if it is incredibly easy to be chronically online and forget that the online world is not necessarily real. Because let's be very honest here, if we socialize in person more, move our body, and try to eat as healthy as we can, that lifestyle can make a world of a difference. That's what this 10-week series is going to be about. This first week, we are going to be discussing female friendships. I don't know about you, but I have had trouble making female friendships in the past for about most of my life. I don't know what I do that adds obstacles to this already overwhelming process. And frankly, it shouldn't be so overwhelming to begin with. If you're like me and you have struggled, then this is the episode for you. Now that I have grown up a bit, I have realized how many mistakes I have made in the past with people. I have mentioned before that I used to be a pick-me. And to me, a pick-me means someone who is desperate for male validation, so much so that they lose sight of their own morals and values. They start to lack integrity and sometimes dignity. I didn't realize that's what I was becoming until I woke up one day and knew that the way that I was living needed to stop. I like to go easy on my past self, and I prefer to describe my old personality as someone who was ultimately looking for connection. And unfortunately, it's easier to gain male attention than it is to find women to connect with. At least it was for me. And when you are in a place where you haven't decentered men from your life, you tend to find other women who have also not decentered men. This is the start of a very disastrous friendship. Because if either of you makes a drastic change and decide to start pushing the idea of male validation to the side, the other friend is going to not keep up and the friendship is not going to last. And that has been my experience in the last few years. I have managed to complete some inner work and remove male attention from my life. I had always thought about my future wedding day and who I would have as my bridesmaids. I have 5 sisters, and so for a few years there, those spots were pretty filled until I cut off my family entirely and I saw how alone that ceremony would be. I reached a point where it was incredibly important for me to really start investing in women around me, especially after I went to therapy, finishing up at school, and really just trying to live. I was having goals that didn't have to do with finding a man, and it was an adjustment getting back to building quality relationships because I am terrible at dating and I am even terrible at making friends. There's patterns that I would recognize in women I would meet that would make me hesitant. I would be picking up on vibes and trying to be careful. I was very guarded. Then someone would bring drugs into the situation and that would change the entire vibe. Because in case you didn't know, drugs are very normalized when you're going out. So I would try to avoid putting myself in uncomfortable or really dangerous situations. This caused me to keep myself at a distance, and I ended up feeling really lonely, and I don't want that for you. So I have been trying to find new healthy ways to meet people, build relationships, and be comfortable with the people I choose to surround myself with. Look, I used to be an incredibly abrasive person, and I always remained honest. That's a quality that I have always had. And I have just learned that I needed to craft the delivery better. Having this type of personality has made it difficult to build friendships for sure. I usually would have about 1 to 2 close friends by behaving this way, but often they would be ending up in another state because I would move. So I know that I can keep a friendship consistent, but I still lack the local friendships. Once we decided that we are staying in this state for the foreseeable future, I realized that something needed to change. I needed to stop thinking as if I'm going to move next year and push the hard part of making new friends wherever I moved to next. It was time for me to start doing the hard work now, learning how to be a better communicator, a better friend, and overall learning how to find quality people to spend time around. Because really, that was my problem. As we all know, your time is very valuable. And your life can be impacted in the best or worst ways depending on who you are having in your circle. I went to a party recently, and honestly, I didn't have any fun. If I was there alone, I probably would have just left. But I was with my husband who was having a great time. So instead of forcing myself to try and be more social or just try too hard to fix the situation, I just went to go serve myself something to eat, and I ate by myself for a moment. And that's where I started to reflect about the situation I was in. It wasn't the end of the world, but I also realized that I had gone to parties trying to please everyone around me for so long. It was a big moment for me to take that pressure off of myself and just exist at this party. I wasn't like in a dark room throwing a tantrum or anything, but I realized that I put this pressure on myself to make everyone around me feel comfortable, or to make sure that no one is feeling left out, or even to make sure that the conversation is positive and flowing. Absolutely exhausting to act like that all the time. I was being a host without being the host. And I took a moment to step away. The room will survive without me trying to accommodate everyone around me. I also wasn't around any of my actual friends. They were my husband's. And all of these emotions just built up in this moment, and I chose to shift away. I realized how important it is to invest in my own friendships. Because of course that sounds obvious until you're surrounded by people who aren't really serving you. It's one of those light bulb moments where you want something to change. It's funny how that happens after a few drinks sitting outside on a patio. But I believe that building these quality female friendships are crucial to our own development. They help guide us to be better versions of ourselves, which in turn helps us with our overall self-esteem, leading us to be more comfortable and eventually more sexy, because we know that we are being surrounded by people who care for us. I included making friends in this series because I do believe it can help make us sexier overall. When we care about people and start building a community, we start to immediately feel happier. We feel a bit more free, and that we are able to express ourselves in ways that we didn't know we could. Having women around you who do not try to bring you down, but instead help inspire you to be challenged from your old self is super important. I'll admit, I have had numerous female friendships that have ended. Most of them I wasn't the best person, and sometimes they weren't the best people either. I needed to grow up. I feel like I have done enough growing up that I can show myself that I can be a good friend. I met new women recently that I have been starting to build friendships with. We started in a walking group, we met, and we have been in contact with each other. And meeting those new women recently made me reflect on my own strengths. I am really good at talking, obviously. I'm really good at starting conversation to make people feel comfortable and make the situation less awkward. I'm still incredibly guarded because they're still strangers, but I'm taking baby steps. This is progress. This period where you want to find new friends to add to your life, but also not entirely get rid of the ones you already have, is really bold, and I commend it. But when you decide to make new friends, it needs to grow just like a new relationship from a date would grow. You need to put energy into it. No more ignoring text messages, canceling last minute plans because you don't feel too good. It starts to lack any kind of integrity, and most of all, it shows a lack of self-discipline, because you're not going to wake up one day and have 3 best friends that you trust who understand you. That's not how that works. It takes energy and being intentional to really form these pivotal relationships. And that's okay that it takes time. Just like you don't let yourself be love bombed in a new romantic relationship, you also need to slowly build a new friendship with other people. Putting an effort into these new friendships is the only way that it can truly build into lasting friendships. Let me get to my main theme here. I have started to hint at it before, but now is a great time to introduce my new strategy. I have started treating forming new friendships as if I am dating. Often, we go on romantic dates. We have pre-filtered questions that we make sure we need to ask. We are trying to see what these dates' intentions are, what they spend their free time doing, what are their future goals, and what do they want? Because ultimately, we want to date someone who is similar to us, or we see a similar future. Why wouldn't we be treating female friendships the same way? When I first met my husband, we talked about so many different topics. We talked about music we were into, what kind of movies we like. We were building a foundation of friendship. Same concept to do when you meet a new woman who you want to be friends with. Oftentimes, I believe that we tend to lack boundaries when we're trying to make new friends. We can overshare in order to fill the silence. We don't want to make a bad impression, so we have this kind of character where we're being over friendly. Then when you leave the hangout, you almost overanalyze what you said. And if you share too much too soon, I don't know about you, but I have been in that situation numerous times. I also want to add that I think it's important how you are introduced to a new friend. How much are they gossiping when you first meet them? Are they solely a positive or a completely negative person? How much of their energy can you realistically handle? And vice versa. Are you feeling like you are being too much for them? These are all little clues. Little clues do not mean that it's the end of a friendship. It's just important for you to be aware of who you are choosing to surround yourself with. We often underestimate the importance of having quality people who can be there after a breakup, but also be there for a birthday party. Having a good friend doesn't mean that they're only there for an emergency situation. They have to be there for highs and lows. And I've mentioned before that it's incredibly easy to fall into a trap of being a bystander in your life. This is a big part of it. Hiding behind fear, fear of being seen. And it's really embarrassing looking back and noticing that I was so scared of actually being vulnerable with people. I personally get stuck in this thought loop where I'm overanalyzing everything that I'm doing, what the person is doing, what they're saying. It becomes so exhausting to live like that. And I'm working on it. I'm working on being more present and taking their words at face value instead of trying to predict someone's intentions. That's not a great way to build the quality friendships that I'm looking for, because I may be generalizing someone before actually giving them a chance. I've realized that I have to give a person 3 genuine hangouts to find out if things are the right match. There may be something off on the first one, but everyone gets nervous, so there's a pass. If I have the same feeling the second time around, I'm gonna be a little on guard and try to figure it out, but okay, we're still trying to get used to each other. By the third hangout, if I still have this off feeling with this person, then I'm going to trust my gut and not move forward, because I believe you can remain cordial but not super close friends. I believe that energy is so important. Sometimes you may not have the exact words or a specific reason why you feel off with someone's energy, but I have learned that it's better to listen to your body than try to be in a situation where you learn the reason the hard way. I also want it to be known that I have realized that I am someone that has so many layers. I have experiences that not everyone can relate to, and that's okay. But that doesn't mean that I am the only one to have any experiences. Giving people a chance to come into your life is a huge step that shows growth. It shows that you're willing to try. Even if the friendship may fizzle out, that's completely okay. You tried your best and now you're on to the next. It's literally like dating, because you can't expect every single person you meet to be your best friend. Just like not every single date that you go on means the guy is the one. Think about when you go on a date and it goes extremely well. You guys start texting each other, right? I want you to have that same excitement for that new friend. Go on friend dates where you get to learn about each other. Leave your house. Going outside and making these new memories with friends is what helps build up the friendship. I will be going over specific hobbies and activities for you to do in this series to become more confident and make friends. So definitely follow the series for whenever that drops. But currently, I'm at a point in my life where I'm finally acting on ideas that I have had for years. I feel uncomfortable being around someone who doesn't have any type of goals. It makes me feel like I need to lead the conversation. and that I have to overcompensate what happens in that moment. And that's where you end up oversharing because the other person isn't sharing. So how else can you make the conversation go forward? But those situations makes me feel really exhausted at the end of the meeting, at the end of the hangout. We don't have to have the exact same goals. It's not what I'm saying. But too many times I have been in a room where I have my own way of thinking, and usually I would have to educate others about what I am specifically talking about. And there's nothing wrong with sharing information about a topic, but I also want to learn something too. I want to be able to be informed about a super niche topic that you're super well versed in. Maybe speak about some random conspiracy theory that you haven't shared, but you want to see how it plays out loud. I wouldn't mind that. That could be fun, but it usually feels like I am the only one with my experiences and goals in the room. So I'm trying to find women who can challenge me and help me grow. I would love to have a friend look over a video I'm working on or part of a podcast idea without having to pay them to do so. You know what I mean? Like, that's not a friend, that's an employee. I would love to create something with someone and not feel like we have to pay each other to participate. When did we get to this point where there's a shift in what is a friend? I understand that time is valuable, but when does being a friend mean that you refuse to help them out unless you're getting something out of it too? To me, that's not what being a true friend is. Do you remember when you used to take a photo and send it to your friend? Like, I don't know, like in middle school or high school, you would take a photo and send it to your best friend and ask them, like, should I post this photo? Does this photo look good, or about this one? I feel like I don't collaborate as much anymore. It's becoming too serious for my liking. I wanted to start off by speaking about forming female friendships because I believe this is the biggest step in the series. When you start to have genuine, good, and happy people in your life, that energy is so contagious. A woman who has strong female friendships is in turn more confident. She feels supported and is not desperate for any validation. She knows that she can trust who she is venting to. And I believe that having the right friends around you can help you grow and become a better person. There's so many ways to get discouraged about the future and to get stuck doom scrolling, but having people who make you laugh and feel joy is so crucial. It makes the hard days more bearable, and it can also improve your overall mental health. And that's why I put this as the first step in the series of becoming her. So I did want to challenge you to do one thing this week. Join a local group, text your friend that you want to hang out with, that you have canceled plans with, or just go and just follow through with those plans. You never know who you're going to meet when you join a local group. I want you to try to prove to yourself that you can commit to plans, especially if you have been avoiding being social lately. I have definitely been there before, but we are not trying to hold on to past mistakes. As long as you try to improve by making small plans, baby steps, or even a big step, you could sign up for a new class. But I promise that you will not regret going outside, getting some fresh air, and enjoying some good company. We all have busy lives, but it matters to carve out time for the ones that matter to us. If you have been feeling like you're lacking in female friendships, you have definitely come to the right place. It's difficult, but it doesn't mean that it's not possible. I have been actively showing proof of what is and isn't working in order for others to not have to make the same mistakes. Or maybe you're like me and you just have to learn the hard way. I respect that too. So thank you for joining in on another episode of Life with Marisol. I am so glad that you took the time to listen, and I hope that it was helpful in some way. As always, I'd love to hear what you thought about the episode. Follow our page on Instagram and TikTok. Can't wait to share more of the series of Becoming Her, a series that includes ways to become sexy. Enjoy the rest of your week until our new episode that drops every Wednesday, and I'll talk to you soon.